I took probably 1,000 meetings that year.
Wow.
I was willing to meet anyone who was willing to hear me out. You're selling yourself all the time. And that, as a woman of color, is challenging because we're just not primed to do that.
Okay, welcome back to the SafeTea Podcast. I'm super excited. Today I have a fellow entrepreneur, really excited to chat with Rooshy Roy, who's with AAVRANI, an incredible beauty brand. You've probably seen it at Sephora, if not elsewhere. They have some amazing products. My favorite, I'm going to plug it, is the hair density boosting something.
Yes, treatment.
Yes, the hair density boosting treatment. Clearly, it's working. She is also so inspirational because she kind of went that traditional route into finance world and then, did a pivot and went into building an incredible brand. And what I really love is taking ownership of our identity as South Asians and her being Indian and where Ayurveda comes from, which this brand is based on. And while it's such a global wellness regimen, I think it's really important when we own our narratives and we tell them best and disseminate them to the world. So really excited to have her on.
Thank you so much. That was so nice.
Yeah, I know. It's always nice to hear what somebody
when someone else
thinks about you.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, thank you for joining. These products are absolutely amazing, but so much work goes into the journey. So I'm really excited to dive into that, but also like who you were growing up. And I think you're also from Michigan.
I am.
So same.
Good memory.
So you might have some shared adventures and misadventures. But we start every episode, so this is called the SafeTea with TEA, of how you take your tea. And is it a big part of your everyday life?
I wish it was a bigger part, to be honest. Ever since I had my son, I have just been running around just trying to get any kind of caffeine in. So this is actually the first cup of tea I've had in a long time.
Really?
So I'm actually really excited.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so special.
Yeah.
Well, I'm cheating and I have an oat milk vanilla latte in my tea today. So cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Rooshy Roy is such a good ring to it, right? It's like I can already see it, all the awards you're going to get. And,
thank you.
The winner is Rooshy Roy. But what you said, you had like a longer name.
Yes. So the name I was born with, and it's still my legal name, it's on my driver's license, is Rooshy Roy Chowdhury. And
it's still regal.
It has as many letters as the entire alphabet.
Rooshy Roy Chowdhury.
Yeah.
So when did you sort of shorten it to this name?
I shortened it to Rooshy basically when I started school.
I can't imagine all those Michigan teachers trying to say Rooshy.
I would memorize actually in class who was right before me in the list so that before she could even attempt it and embarrass me, I would be like, oh, it's me. I'm here. Like, don't worry. Just so that, she would also not be embarrassed. It was such a thing.
I was always right in the beginning. So mine, it's Akbar. Akbar is like the South Asian way to say it. It's become Akbar, and I've become Akbar myself. But people still mess it up. And I would know because I was always the first one with an A. So when they went by first name, so they'd be like, Akbar. And so then I'm like, yeah, that's it. Well, tell me about growing up in Michigan, because I love that we both are from the same state, and I think we're around the same age.
Yeah, Bloomfield Hills.
So Bloomfield Hills, which at least you had like a proper mall, Somerset Mall.
Yeah.
We in Grand Rapids, I would go to Somerset all the time. It was the only place with
That's so
designer
far for
clothing.
you.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
But
okay.
in my teen era when I thought I could afford shit I couldn't, that's where we'd go. We'd window shop a little bit, spend all our life savings on one shirt. But literally.
My family and I would go around Christmas time because they would have the most beautiful decorations set up.
Yeah.
But that was what we would go for. And anytime I'd be like, can I buy? Nope.
Nope.
We're here to see.
Nope.
And my dad would take the pictures of us in front of the decorations and we'd go home. So
that's still nice. You were around the creative inspiration.
Right.
Grand Rapids, we had Woodland Mall, and I think it was just, Macy's and Gap, which are all great stores, but, we didn't have the aspirational, the Saks, Fifth Avenue, and all of that. So how was it for you? Because I think where I grew up, West Michigan, was a lot less diverse than it is now even, but more so I think than, okay.
Yeah, so I was the only Indian girl in school up until high school. There was another one who was 2 grades above me. So that's how little.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Did you embrace your identity
Not
growing
at all.
up?
Of
No.
course not. Of course not. So I would say, it was a gradual process kind of figuring out that I was different from other people. when you're super young, you don't even know any better. But the first time it really occurred to me that I was very different was in 4th grade when a girl in my class called out my yellow fingernails and
oh my gosh.
told everyone
But they're not even yellow.
Well, at the time.
Oh, at the time. Okay.
Yeah. She told everyone I had fungus on my hand and that I was gross. Like, if she touches you, you're going to get it. Like, it was horrific.
And at that age, that's traumatizing. That trauma lives with you.
And so I didn't even know why. I remember when she had called it out, that being the first time being like, oh shit, yeah, my right hand fingernails are a little yellower. Like, I wonder why that is. And I'll never forget when I realized what it was when we sat down for dinner that night that she called it out. My family always eats together. My mom cooked us a homemade meal every night, which looking back is insane. But then I saw it, and I saw the chicken in the gravy, and it was like, of course, had a lot of turmeric in it. Of course,
yeah.
And that was the first night I started eating with a fork and knife. Like, I stopped eating with my hands because I'm like, why would I do this? Yeah. And then I even remember sitting there, like, looking at my parents, like, oh, they're so gross. I can't believe they're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, of course. Because that's part of our culture, eating with your hands. But you're so right, because also it's not just the color, but like the smell of the spices.
Yes. And just like the whole thing just suddenly looked so unrefined to me. And in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, the proper clean way to eat is with a fork and knife. Like, how could we be doing this?
How could we be so savage?
Yes, yes. And that was the first time I felt like a true visceral shame in being Indian.
It's such an interesting nuance that people probably don't think about, but it's true. Yeah. I think we hear a lot about the spices, and I think that's where we, like, the teasing, right? If somebody comes to your home or like whatever, or like you smell like curry. And now it's so funny. Now I would give anything for that home cooked food every day. Right? It's like, before it's like I didn't want it. I wanted like American food, and now I would give anything for it. So, but you have amazing, did you always have amazing hair?
Well, thank you.
I would have been like, forget my nails.
It was okay, to be honest. It was like, okay. And what I have now is after I started making a conscious effort to take care of it. I actually lost a lot of hair during the pandemic. I turned 30. I don't know, like, just a bunch of stress, aging, whatever it was. My hair started coming out in clumps. And so that's when I started taking it really seriously. I honestly took it for granted up until that point.
Yeah, it's something, I think for South Asians, there's something genetic too, because we do have, I would say, in both men and women, sort of thinning hair and sort of genetic hair loss too, which is when we're going to get into why your product is incredible. And so, okay, so you're growing up, you become Rooshy Roy. How was high school then? So you had the traumatic childhood experience.
I was still actually Rooshy Roy Chaudhary.
Okay.
I didn't change it to Roy until I started working in finance.
Oh, okay.
And when in the beginning of a meeting, everybody shakes everybody's hands and they say their first and last name. I didn't like saying Rooshy Roy Chaudhary. They'd look at me and be like, all right, like, no way I'm remembering that. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I want them to remember me. I'm going to cut it, and then they can say it, and it won't be this awkward moment. So that's when I actually did the final rebrand.
So this is the middle. We went to Rooshy. We're still Roy Chaudhary. So how was your high school experience? Did it get like better in that sense? Like, was it more open? And
I would say by high school, I was just like very different from what my parents expected of me, from like what was cool or normal in high school. So I kept to myself a lot, to be honest. And it was kind of a lonely experience. Not necessarily because I was the only Indian girl. At least at the time, I wasn't. It was still not like that was wearing me down. It was more I just felt very misunderstood. And according to my parents, like the bar for like being a good girl, let's say, is like getting straight A's, right? And
oh my God, I remember that. I know. And they're like, AP everything. And I'm like, but I'm not good at math and science. The AP calculus teacher actually called them and was like, get your son out of this class. Like, can you imagine brown parents?
I wish that happened to me.
They were mortified. They put me in college algebra, which I still struggled in. So yes, I was not you were at Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't make it to Goldman Sachs.
I mean, that was truly like, I took a different route to get there. I did not do very well in high school. I went to Indiana University, and I actually did really poorly my first semester. Not because I wasn't smart, but in retrospect, it was because I just didn't care and I didn't see a point to putting in the effort, because I didn't want at the end of that what I thought everybody was going for. You know what I mean? Like, nothing really drew me. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be an engineer. So I was like, I don't even know what this is for.
Did you have that pressure though? Were your parents traditional in the doctor engineer?
Totally. They're both PhDs, yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, okay, I feel like we can relate. I mean, my parents are not doctors, but they had that very traditional finance, medicine, law. Like, what are you doing?
Right. And so actually, of the things that I knew my parents would be, quote unquote, proud of me for, finance was the only thing that didn't totally repel me. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'll do. And that's truly how I ended up pursuing finance as a major in college, because I needed to pick something.
You hadn't declared.
Yeah, I hadn't declared. I just knew I wanted to do something in the realm of business, but I just didn't know what it was. And then finance was the thing that would get you the best job out of school. I was like, let me see if I could do that, right?
I mean, it's a great career path. I think that it's, and you're right in that you don't, it's a stereotype that you have to be amazing at math to do finance. I mean, I know arts majors, people that have done art history at Tulane, where I went, who have incredible finance careers. Also, like, there's people at hedge funds whose job is to sell, right? Like, you're doing the pitching, and I'm always like, damn, I would have been so good at that. That's what I do. I sell brands. So you had the career pressure, and then you did finance, which was somewhat making them proud in your head, right, with the traditions. Did you have the marriage sort of pressure, like, ever, where they wanted you to
luckily, not really. Okay. Yeah, I didn't have that so much. They actually, they didn't want me to date, of course, in high school. Yeah. And then they never, asked me about it, really. It wasn't until, I would say, I'm 35 now, but it wasn't until I was, going into business school in my late 20s that my mom was like, all right, are you gonna get married?
What's happening?
TikTok.
I know. What's it? Kids, hello.
Yeah. So I was lucky in that regard. Through high school, through college, they really didn't pressure me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And so you graduated and went right to an MBA, or no?
No, that's when I moved to New York and I pursued my career in banking. Okay. I actually worked at a boutique investment bank. At the time, it was called Sandler O'Neill. Now they've been acquired and they're called Piper Sandler. But I worked there for a year and then transferred to Goldman after my first year here. I just did anything it took to get that job. And that's when it something inside turned on of okay, now I do have a clear reason to put effort in. I want to get this job. And it had a ripple effect in everything I did. I suddenly started getting really good grades. I became extremely focused. I had a very clear North Star. Okay. And so I realize now, that's really what I was missing growing up. I just didn't feel like I fit in anywhere and didn't have a vision of what my future could be.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I wanted to go to law school. Always. In 7th grade, I said I'm going to be a lawyer.
Well, that's nice of you.
Yes, that was my thing, right? Yeah. It was declared. And I think it was, I was very inspired by Ally McBeal.
Nice.
By Ally McBeal and then later Elle Woods. Mm-hmm. And I am still inspired by Elle Woods. And
Aren't we all?
Yeah, and I'm turning 40 in September. But I'm like, maybe when I'm 50, I'll go to Harvard Law. Why not?
Why not?
And I think that's what's amazing. There's no age, there's no timeline. That's what I love about the way we're evolving now and what we're all doing with multiple careers. So now we're at Goldman, and then how long were you there before you decided I'm going to do an MBA?
I was there for 2 years. I did the analyst program, and then I actually worked in private equity for 3 years. And then I went to get my MBA. I had the realization while I was working in PE that this is not what I want to do with the rest of my life. And so business school was really a way for me to step back and figure out what it was. Yeah. So you were happy. I mean, you were doing great in your career. So you were performing well. I was performing. Actually, I don't even know if I was performing.
Well, I just assumed that brilliant brown girl. She probably was killing it.
I wasn't killing it. I wasn't the top of my class at all. Honestly, I had to work very hard to even keep up. My peers just had a different level of rigor and even background. It was mostly like Ivy League students, and they knew they wanted to do finance their whole lives. They were very primed for it. Like their best skills were aligned with what the job demanded. Whereas for me, my best skills, again, this is in retrospect, were not utilized at all in that world. So it was really actually challenging for me to keep up. And after like years of that, 5 years of that, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to figure out something else.
Where did you go for your MBA?
I went to Wharton.
Oh, casual. Wharton. You're like the finance Elwoods.
Oh, that's so nice.
So that's incredible. Your parents, everybody must have been
they were
so
so
proud.
happy.
Like, wow.
They were so proud. Yeah.
And so then it was full time, so you had to leave.
Yeah, I moved to Philly for 2 years. Yeah.
And then, because I know a little bit of the story, but for viewers and listeners, I think it was in your orientation time.
It was the second day of school, yeah.
The idea for AAVRANI was born, which I think is so beautiful. And also it was like that career path was pushing you to this, because this is where that discovery would happen. So I think it's important for aspiring entrepreneurs, people who are listening. It's not an easy journey, but I think every step is taking you to that. So even though like you might be in an amazing career and doing really well and you're not feeling fulfilled, it's because maybe there's something else that it's guiding you to.
Totally. Every experience has purpose.
So tell us about that moment.
So it was the second day of school. It was lunch hour and everybody's trying to meet each other and size each other up, basically.
Yep.
And I sat with my peer, Justin, who was in the same year as me. I was at Wharton. And we were just talking about what we had done prior to coming to school, what we wanted to do going forward. And he had a very similar background to me in that he pursued banking and PE prior to coming. And we both wanted to do our own thing, but we didn't know what that would look like necessarily. And in talking about the work we did in the past, he had told me that he focused primarily on the beauty industry in PE. And I was so fascinated because I had never met somebody who had worked in beauty from the business side of it. And I myself had always focused on like really boring businesses. And I was like, oh my God, you worked in beauty? Like, tell me what you invested in. And his most recent investment was in a brand called Tatcha. It's an iconic brand,
of course.
Japanese-inspired skincare line, and I hadn't heard of it at the time. So he's telling me how that founder, Vicky, brought these Japanese rituals and traditions to the U.S. in a luxury format. And as he's telling me, I'm like getting so excited. I'm like, Justin, there are so many Indian rituals and traditions as it relates to beauty, not just skincare, but hair care, body care. The whole world of Ayurveda is so deep and expansive. And suddenly, like for the first time truly in my life, I was excited to tell somebody outside my home about the rituals that I would create and use growing up, like the turmeric mask I would make with my mom, the coconut oil hair mask.
And did you do the scalp massage with the coconut oil? I feel like that is like a quintessential South Asian experience.
Truly.
They call it the tail malish.
Yes.
I loved it when my mom did that. It felt amazing. I need to start doing it again.
It's so good for you.
Serum. Yes.
I have an oil too for that specifically. And it was one of those things that was just such a part of my upbringing that I never appreciated how much I learned from that process of like knowing, for example, when we do the turmeric mask in the winter, we use more honey and milk for hydration. When we have blemishes or breakout, we can add neem to alleviate that irritation. I just learned these things from making it.
Yeah.
And Justin was so fascinated. He's like, so every time you would want to use one of these products, you'd have to start from scratch and make it. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, what if you could just buy it from the store, like ready to make? And that was really when the light bulb went off, where I'm like, oh my God, what if we could do that? There's precedent with this brand like Tatcha that has been able to transcend the Japanese demographic in the U.S. clearly by how successful
and every
it
demo,
is.
because I have Tatcha products
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So the timing is also important in that regard, right? Like I don't know if in the 90s Indian skincare, Indian hair care
No.
would have taken, right?
But
like,
we're kind of sexy right now.
We
South
are.
Asians,
We're having a moment.
we are.
We really are. And so the timing was there. My just learned experience and I'll say expertise in quotes from like just the process of making these for so many years was there. And every time I would come up with like a potential barrier to Justin, like, oh, well, where would we get them made? Or how would we sell them? He had an answer. Like Tatcha uses a manufacturer. Like she's the inspiration, but they're the chemists that are coming up with the final product. So it wouldn't have to be all you. And with how we would sell it, like D2C was having its moment, right? At the time in 2017, it was blowing up. We just watched a YouTube tutorial, like 10 minutes, and I created a Shopify template. Like it was so accessible.
Wow.
So every aspect of the getting started was just like digging one level deeper, and it was possible. And I was getting more and more excited by the fact that I could not only just like pivot my whole life like this, but actually create something that I was really proud of.
And I can even just tell from like your excitement and talking about it, like you found this like new North Star.
Yes,
like you just
yes,
you knew,
precisely.
right? You had that feeling and
Yes.
you knew right away.
Yeah.
What is Ayurveda?
In the context of beauty, it's the understanding that everything is connected. So in Western beauty, as a contrast, we like to address problems once we see it, versus Ayurveda approach to beauty is a daily maintenance that prevents issues from arising in the first place. So Ayurveda is really about using Ayurvedic ingredients. So there's like a list of around 300 vetted, proven ingredients that have been passed down generations of women in terms of utilizing these ingredients for beauty. It's utilizing that alongside your personal balance and institution to bring out your highest form of beauty.
I love that. I think that we grab everything that we think is going to be a quick fix. And then if you actually pause and then think about what you need to do every day, we can avoid or at least help the hair loss, you know?
Right. Or the blemishes, or whatever
yeah.
it might be. Yeah.
So business MBA is 2 years?
Yes, it is.
So you were developing it as you were studying?
Yes. So we both had savings to pay for business school, but instead of doing that, we transferred it all into a business account and then took out loans to pay for business school. So we used that initial money to bootstrap the business, to get the products together, to, like I said, design the website and, you know, create a brand, really. And then we launched the business officially in the summer between business school years, the 2 years. Instead of doing an internship like you typically do, we stayed in Philly. We got some actually undergrad Penn interns to help us, and we launched AAVRANI.com.
That's so incredible. What year was that?
2018.
2018. Okay.
Yes.
So then you graduated 2019.
Right.
And right now we're in 2025 and you're in Sephora, but there was a big journey to get there.
Yes.
So
a volatile journey.
Yeah, tell me about the challenge, because I'm sure not everybody or every beauty company or investor was believing in this sort of Indian heritage inspired skincare, hair care, beauty.
I mean, it's come a long way since then, but I would say it's still an uphill battle. At the time, we were among the first to do this. And so it wasn't just a challenge from an investor perspective, but from a manufacturing perspective, a lot of these companies didn't have raw ingredients like turmeric or neem available. And the way these work is they're able to buy these raw materials at scale and use them across various brands. But if no other brands are utilizing turmeric, let's say, then they're not going to buy it. And so that was also a big challenge for me, to not only find the right partner who would invest in getting these products made, but also like take that upfront hit of buying the ingredients at scale. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for investors, it was such a challenge. I mean, imagine trying to tell a bunch of old, rich white men that like Indian skincare is going to be huge.
And they're going to make a lot of money from, and you know, and you're telling me about like the scalp massages and making it at home, and they're like, where is this going?
Exactly. Well, the funny thing is, like, I wasn't at all leaning into the cultural aspect because I knew they wouldn't resonate with that. I leaned into the business opportunity of like, there's a clear white space. There's clear macro trends that are facilitating the growth of a new category like this. I did not talk about like my upbringing or
Well, also huge spending power. I forget the statistics, but I know our community alone combined with all communities, huge spending power.
Yes.
In beauty. So you already have a built-in audience, and then I know your product is like does well with every type of community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was hard to get them to believe. Yeah. So it was a lot of, I'll have my wife try it. And like, you know, I remember specifically there was one guy he asked me a question that was like, how do you know that a woman is going to buy this moisturizer until she's ready to purchase? Like, she has to finish her current one before she's going to buy yours.
Hasn't seen my bathroom cabinet.
Right. So then I'm like, well, that assumes somebody only has one moisturizer at a time, right? Like, I have 6 moisturizers in my bathroom. And he just laughed at me. He was like, well, that's silly. Like, because he couldn't wrap his head around.
That's such like a traditional male, because guys, I mean, traditional, I shouldn't say all men, but traditional sort of thing is, you have one product, like deodorant, one fragrance, one cream.
Exactly. And so that's like how far off I was from being able to resonate with these. So it took pitch after pitch, meeting after meeting for me to realize like what to say and what not to say to get even any interest, let alone the final check from these people. So I would say in 2019, when we started fundraising in earnest because we were out of bootstrap money and I needed funding to order the next production, I took probably 1,000 meetings that year.
Wow.
Including like phone calls and whatever it was. Just I was willing to meet anyone who was willing to hear me out. And every time I would have a meeting, I would learn something.
Yeah, so that's the right
I had to change my attitude because you can only like break your own heart so many times. Yeah. You know what I mean? So at some point you have to be like, okay, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to learn from it and refine the pitch and give myself this amount of time to see if this goes anywhere. Otherwise, I'm done.
And what happened when the pandemic hit?
I mean, that was another.
Yeah, like what? Like did everything just pause?
Yeah, everything just stopped. Supply chain completely halted for a while. We were just existed as a website with a bunch of sold out pages, unable to replenish anything. Meanwhile, I had to keep the brand going and keep having to grow the number of email subscribers or social media followers, right? Because once you lose momentum, you die. So the pandemic was a really challenging time. Interestingly, not the most challenging time in this whole like 7-year span, but it was certainly a hurdle to navigate.
You kind of had this journey of becoming, I mean, it was in developing this and retracing your roots and sort of cultural stories in your upbringing, did you sort of rediscover your identity?
100%. And if I'm being honest with myself, that's really what drew me as well to be an entrepreneur, like have a career on my own terms, all of that. And I thought I had like dealt with all the internal like insecurities and just ownership of my culture and who I am. It wasn't really until the pandemic like of 2020 when I redid the brand and redid all the packaging and everything that I had to tap into my own purpose as it relates to this company and understand like why is it that I'm doing this, because the business only keeps you motivated for so long. Like eventually it wears you down and you get told no so many times. Mm-hmm. You encounter so many challenges that there has to be a deeper sense of purpose that keeps you going. And I really needed to find that year because I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'm done with it. Yeah, why am I?
Also, you have an MBA from Wharton. You could just go back to like an amazing finance job. Yeah.
Right. And so that started a self-discovery journey, I would say, of figuring out like, what is my relationship with beauty? How did that really make me feel growing up? And how do these products, embody that sense of healing and beauty that I finally feel? I took a really long time to think about that because just like you said, I could just find a job doing something else, but there was something just drawing me to this. And yeah, it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, I think for me, I've only recently sort of reclaimed my identity. As I pushed it away because being gay and coming to terms with that, I felt that my identities rejected that, like being South Asian, being Muslim. I thought those communities and those identities rejected me, so I didn't want anything to do with them. But recently, I've realized that that's not true, and I've met amazing community, and I've realized that I can own all that and be all these identities at once. So I've kind of had that journey of becoming in the last few years too, and it's really beautiful and powerful to reclaim that and take ownership of it and be proud of it. So I think that's incredible that you found it through the beauty and business world, but really through your mother and your culture and the roots of where you come from. You know, that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. And then also you got amazing hair. So like, let's just, that's the real tea. So you, as you're experimenting, obviously your products are working, but because you were saying your hair wasn't always like
this. So at the time we had skincare products for AAVRANI, and I always knew I wanted to branch into hair, but the hair loss that I experienced on my own sort of expedited that desire. And I just started making everything at home. Reusing amla, Indian gooseberry, coconut oil, castor oil, rosemary oil, just everything in various combinations to figure out what would, be good for me. And I will say so much of the improvement in my own hair comes as a result of just practicing the ritual consistently. Like the incremental benefit between coconut oil and rosemary oil is actually quite small. But if you're actually massaging your scalp and, putting that effort and care into your hair on a weekly basis, you will see improvement no matter, what you're using.
Well, I'm not consistent. I need to be. And so in between all of this and you're developing the company, when did you meet your husband? And you also have a baby.
Yes.
A recent new addition to the family, which I think is important for people to hear. And you're still building and going and you can do everything.
Yeah. I met my husband on the first night, actually. I moved to Philly.
Wait, so you met business partner, the big aha. So what is the day? Because this is a powerful day.
I know. I think something cosmic was happening in my life, like in my birth chart. I'm convinced
100%, because you met two of the most important partnerships in your life.
100%. Yep.
What was the day? Do you remember? I'm going to write this down and meditate.
It was August 7th.
August 7th, 8/7. We're going to all meditate that day. Put our oil in our hair.
Interestingly, I was dating someone else going into business school. So while I met my now husband that night, it wasn't like that kind of thing. I just met him and we became friends. And it wasn't until second year that we started, dating seriously. But yeah, he really changed my life, like from a personal perspective. I don't know what it is. I've never dated an Indian guy ever growing up.
Oh, so this was the first?
The first Indian guy. And there was something about it that I was like, when I was younger, I'm like, I don't like Indian guys. Like, they don't respect women enough. They're this and that, whatever stereotypes I had just assumed of them. And then my husband just completely turned my, thinking upside down around so many stereotypes I held.
I feel like it was part of the reclaiming your identity.
100%, because he also re-invited me to a lot of the traditions that I rejected or left behind. He had always been very proud to be Indian, and so had so much to share with me around that. And he's from a different part of India too, so we would talk about the different traditions we celebrated growing up. They were slightly different. I'm Bengali, so growing up I celebrated Durga Puja, he celebrated Diwali. And so there was a lot of that culture, renewal personally and behind the scenes from the business too, that, like you said, was a really important part of the journey.
Yeah, I think when you become your most authentic self, that's when everything just falls into place.
Yes.
And you've experienced it, I've experienced it, and I think it's just the truth. When you step into who you are, which you've always been, but we all have to go through this journey of sometimes decades of pain and suffering, but all of that is leading you back to who you are, to actually realizing who you are. And I think this is an incredible example of it. So pandemic, you had to figure out where the brand is going, and now you're all over Sephora, and you have Lily Singh, who is just the coolest fucking person ever. We can swear really on this podcast. When I saw her with the brand, I was like, I couldn't have thought of a more perfect person. And also has amazing hair and skin and all of it.
Totally.
How did that happen? And the brand was already around, but was that like a big catalyst and like push forward?
Definitely.
What was that journey?
In 2022, when I raised my Series A, I got the opportunity to connect with a WME agent. That's the agency she's a part of. And they invested as part of that round. And they were like, I'm going to send you our roster. If anyone's interesting, like if you want to get more exposure for the brand, just from everybody's doing celebrity partnerships these days. So I didn't like even take it that seriously. And he sent me the roster and I saw her name and I'm like, this is the only person that would make sense, because not only is it, like you said, so authentic to the brand, but she's like a personal hero of mine.
She's incredible.
And I just thought, like, there's no one better for this if we could make it work. So I sent her my product. And to be clear, at this point, 2022, I did get the opportunity to send celebrities some of my products. But I quickly learned that it's rare that the actual celebrity is opening the box.
My other life, I own a PR agency, so
it's usually their assistant or their nanny, someone on their staff, and it's actually quite hard to get them to even engage with it, let alone use the product. So still, for Lily, given this chance to send her product, I went all out and made this custom box that actually fitted our skincare products in it. It was really large. I'm like, she can't miss this. And then a couple months later, I got a call from that agent who said, Lily is obsessed with your products. She's actually using them and she really wants to meet you. And so I was like, okay. I had no idea where this is going to go. It was like a 15-minute Zoom calendar with 9 people on, including Lily, me, and then like a bunch of people of like on her team. And it was 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say for 15 minutes?
Truly elevator pitch.
Yes, truly a 30-second pitch. Because also we get on and everybody's doing small talk. And I'm like, let's go. So she gets the opportunity to introduce herself. And she was so sweet and said she loved the products. And they really resonated with her. And so then when it was my turn to speak back to her, I truly blacked out. I was like, I don't even know what to say. I kind of poured my heart out to her. And after that Zoom call, I get an email saying Lily wants to connect personally. Like, are you okay if I share your phone number with her?
Wow.
And so it started very organically. Like, she truly loved the skincare, and she reached out, and there was not like I'll say I didn't have a whole framework of like, this is how we can work together, right? Like, I was in the background just starting the R&D on hair, and that was becoming, like, I was synthesizing that into real products at this point because it had been a couple years. It's 2022. And so she was just asking, she's like, what are you working on? What's your vision? And so I told her about the hair, and she's like, so excited. It's like, this is something that really resonates with me. I would love to work with you. And so pretty much for the rest of that year, 2022, because the initial meeting happened in the spring, it was just like back and forth on me sending her some hair samples, getting her feedback, getting her thoughts around it. Just like no clear partnership, but just like we're clearly vibing, and
which I love, because that's really, she was invested. It wasn't just like I'm attaching my name. She was involved in the development.
Right.
So I love the smell of the hair density boosting. Was she involved in that?
Yes, she was.
Thank you, Lily. It smells so good.
Yeah, it has these grapefruit notes that make it really interesting.
Yeah, it's delicious.
But yeah, so she started having a real input and shaping the products as I was finalizing them. And finally she was like, okay, let's work together. Like, what can I do? And at that point, it just become so clear, like, I need your help with content. I need your help with bringing awareness to the brand. All of these things that, she's made to do and is like totally in our wheelhouse. So it wasn't actually until fall of 2023 where we signed anything. And we came up with what the actual partnership would look like. But it was over a year of just getting to know each other and her getting a sense of what I was building before she was willing to put her name on it.
That's how these partnerships should be. I think this is such a great case in point of how any celebrity partnership with a brand should take place.
Yeah.
Really thoughtfully. And so that's why I think it resonates with consumers too, because it feels like such a perfect fit.
Thank you.
And then you got into Sephora and that's now where we're seeing, and then we obviously saw her campaign and your launches and so that brings us to present day. And what's next? Like, what's next can you share anything of what's up?
Yeah, well, we have a new product we're launching next month, actually. It's our first styling product. But unlike typical styling products that are all focused on the immediate aesthetic benefit, we wanted a product that was actually good for your hair. So it's a strengthening heat protectant. That has a little style memory too. So it's really good for your hair and it gives you like a fresh, bouncy blowout.
It's going to be in every salon, I'm sure. Well, so we've talked about sort of your journey, the first part, and then the big break and all your success now. The second part is the T, the Transform, Elevate, Affirm, right? So I feel like you are in this really incredible place with yourself, your identity, the brand. How are you paying it forward to your community?
Yeah, so I do love mentoring and speaking to especially women in college who are at that point in their life where they're trying to figure out what they want to do. So I love doing that. And then from a business perspective, we are partnered with the Shanti Bhavan School in India. They give young children and young girls access to education that they otherwise wouldn't have. And it allows them to break the cycle of poverty in their families. So it's a really beautiful organization, and we donate a proceeds of our revenue to them every year.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What is one truth you affirm in yourself today when things get tough? Because it's not, this all looks easy, and now it's like, ooh, I'm in Sephora, and I'm sure there's still a lot of challenges.
Oh, 100%. I would say you're exactly where you're supposed to be. I wish I told myself or knew that more growing up, but I just told you a thing across 7 years. Yeah. There were so many times where I just wanted to quit, and I almost did quit. And like you said, every experience sort of leads you to where you end up, and just staying true to that, staying persistent despite the ups and downs is the most important thing. And so when I affirm that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, it's like this wave of calm of like, oh, this is part of the story. It's not where it ends. It's
so true, and it's so important. I read, you might have read it too, Worthy, that book by Jamie Kern-Lima.
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, you have to. So she Jamie Kern-Lima sold It Cosmetics for $1 billion to L'Oreal. And it's just so inspirational. She talks about all the meetings and how like 99% is no's, right? So the 1,000 meetings, who probably had so many no's or not interested or this isn't the right fit. And she was a waitress at Denny's when she started and then sold a brand, I think at the highest acquisition for $1 billion, It Cosmetics. Amazing. So what you were just saying is a lot of what she talks about in her book. It's about self-worth and knowing your self-worth, but also knowing that you are where you're supposed to be. And this is all part of the journey. So I think that's such good advice. What's been your biggest challenge navigating the beauty industry as a woman of color? And what do you think still needs to change? I know we're seeing a lot of diversity, but I feel like some brands were found on this lens of diversity and are they stuck? And like, tell me about the challenges of being a POC.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges. So I would say a lot has been embedded in just being also a small brand. You can't start at scale. You have to start really small. And in order to do that, you have to get a lot of people on board along the way. Like I mentioned with the contract manufacturer, you have to get them to take a bet on you. You have to really sell the vision at every turn in getting any piece done, which is that's a new part of life that I just was not prepared to do. You forget, like, when you have an email with a brand name like Goldman Sachs on it, people will respond to you, right? Mm-hmm. But when it's your own thing that nobody's heard of, they're like, why should they care? And you can threaten that you're not going to do business with them, but they don't even care because it's so small.
Yeah, they're like, anyway. We got L'Oreal.
Exactly. It's like nobody's worried about you. So you're selling yourself all the time. And that, as a woman of color, is challenging because we're just not primed to do that. It took a lot of practice for me to articulate myself confidently because I just did not grow up feeling like I had the conviction to, articulate myself in that kind of way. And so we end up being a little bit more humble and modest in the way we talk about ourselves. And there's just no room for that when you're doing your own thing. You have to be bragging any word you can get across. And that's actually something that my co-founder taught me inadvertently. I just saw the way he navigated the world, as a white straight man, as though he's owed something, right? And we talk about how that's like, we hate on that a lot, I think, as a culture or a society now. But I actually feel like we should all just act like that more.
I agree with you.
And that was like a big, learning for me of like, I'm getting in my own way by not bragging about myself from the very beginning. Like, your humility isn't doing you any favors anymore.
We have to be our biggest advocates and champions. If we don't believe in ourselves delusionally, then who is?
Exactly. And you have to be. So, I would say that was probably my biggest challenge and something that I'm still learning to get better and better at. But it was just amazing. Like, when something didn't go his way, my co-founder's way, he was like incredulous. Like, how is this possible? Meanwhile, for me, I have like backup B, C, D plan, right? If A doesn't go right, because that's how I'm hardwired for things just not going my way.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I started just expecting them to go my way and putting all my effort into the thing I wanted the most, it started to unfold in my favor.
I mean, that's such a good point. There was a situation recently, I won't say where in names, but, a Hollywood situation where I have a friend, a Latina actress who's brilliant, and she was kind of seeing how this white male actor was navigating this room, and he got up from his table and had the seat changed, so he could sit at a more strategic table to network. And she was like, well, why am I put on this corner table? And she's like, I'm with all these people I know. She's like, no offense to you, but like, I want to, and I was like, don't hate on him. I was like, go get up and demand that they reseat you.
Yes.
And she was like, no, I can't do that. That's crazy. I said, get up and go to that woman right there and be like, show me the seating chart, just like he did, and say, oh, yep, that I need to be next to that director. And she got up and she did it, and they put her next to that director.
There you go.
And so, it was sort of like, it's not like, why is he doing it? And like, oh, that's so rude. He has to do that. Take a cue from that.
Do it.
Do it yourself and stand up for yourself. And it worked.
Exactly.
So I think that's great advice. What does meaningful support look like to you for brands, founders, women? Like, what, aside from just investment, right, and giving you the money needed to build a brand, what is really meaningful support?
Just keeping the brand top of mind. So if you can connect them with someone that would be helpful, proactively doing things like that, spreading the word about the brand, when there are opportunities for exposure in any way possible, just keeping the brand top of mind. That all has been super helpful to me. And we really wouldn't be here without I would say, hundreds of people doing stuff like that for us.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my God, just so much good advice. You need to write an entrepreneur. I've been telling all our guests, because they're all so brilliant, I'm like, you all need to write books. I'm sure that'll be in your future. What would you love to see change about how Ayurveda is represented in beauty? I mean, do you think there's still misconceptions about it being this like ancient practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've just gotten started in terms of Ayurveda becoming a global beauty category. Because it's so old, it translates into very traditional, even aesthetic interpretations of Ayurveda. And that's a big reason why I wanted to flip the script on what people quote unquote expect out of Ayurveda by going with this really bold, energetic blue. We see a lot of the earth tones, yellow gold accents, and which is really nice, but it's very played out. And there can be so many different interpretations of Ayurveda that haven't yet been explored. So for me and my brand, it's not just about reviving Ayurveda, but coupling that with modern science to create something completely brand new that didn't exist. And it sort of embodies the best of both worlds. There are many different lenses of Ayurveda yet to be explored. And I think Korean beauty is such a testament to that. We see so many different kinds of brands interpreting it in so many fun ways. I would love to see Ayurveda become like that.
I agree, because I feel like my TikTok feed is just all this Korean skincare hacks. And then I see these trips where people go and I'm like, I want to go for 2 days and just do all these treatments. But I agree. I would love to see that too. I think there's so many more traditions to be uncovered from South Asia and secrets and things. And that's super exciting. You mentioned the upcoming product launch. Is there anything next for you in terms of and maybe you can't even say, but new product categories? Do you think you'll ever go into cosmetics?
I will not go into color cosmetics, and I do think it's important to define what you won't do just as much as what you will, especially even seeing a lot of skincare brands start to pivot into color because it's such a hot category right now. It's just not the underlying purpose of my brand. It's very much for the true wellness of our skin and hair, and color is more for a self-expression, which is lovely, but it's just not the reason I started the brand.
I think it's important to have such clearly defined boundaries and guardrails, because that's going to help you really focus and succeed. So I think that's important, because we can get really caught up with we get a big new investment, or we see this hot new trend and it's like, how do I get my brand into that? But it's important to hear why you also shouldn't sometimes jump on those and kind of stay in your defined objective. So we end every episode with this just a fun quick fire lightning round. So don't overthink it. Just fun, whatever the gut response. What's your favorite comfort food or home remedy from childhood? And do you cook a lot?
I don't. I don't. My favorite comfort food would probably be my mom's ilishmach. It's a fish that has an insane number of bones in it, but if you're patient enough to take them out, it's so delicious.
I'm sure it's really the bones. I get so nervous with bones because I've had them got
it's
stuck
an art,
in your throat, but I'm sure it's delicious. What's your go-to Delulu thought that keeps you going? That
I'm in a movie and I'm the main character.
I love that.
My life is just a movie.
I love it. And what is a safe word or mantra or phrase when things get really tough that you turn to?
You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
I love it. And then finally, one piece of advice you wish someone gave you while you were still trying to figure out this new North Star, what you were going to do.
I wish someone told me that what is meant for me is going to happen for me, and what's not meant for me won't. So my sense of control or trying to manipulate that is just wasted energy.
It's so true. Sometimes we just have to surrender.
Right.
And really let go of expectation and outcome. I think for me, I get so attached to things. So, whether it was the school I'm going to get into, or more recently with my film project, we're going to do this festival, and then this is my strategy and all. And it's then we didn't get into those, but then we got into Tribeca.
Right, exactly.
So, right, so you just don't know. But it was only when I surrendered and let go that I feel all the good things started falling into place.
100%.
Otherwise, it literally was just so wound up. So it's so true.
And when you're wound up like that, sometimes you don't even allow the good things to penetrate.
Yeah.
They pass you by because you're focused on something else. So I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you for joining today. I think this was such good advice for any aspiring entrepreneur and anybody really trying to figure out what they should do if they're feeling stuck in their current career. You can always pivot, and everything you're doing right now is leading you to where you're meant to go. So just don't forget that. Where can everybody follow you? I know you have your brand and personal handle.
So at AAVRANI, AAVRANI, and Rooshy Roy.
Awesome. Well, follow along so we can see all the products that are going to be dropping soon. For more conversations like this, subscribe to us at the SafeTea, and we'll see you next time.